Tonight, the Attorney General breaks silence in Jakpa tape scandal, declaring he will prevail against element he accuses of setting traps for him.
And that even though they've laid traps for me, I will flee from them.
Meanwhile, we are also hearing for the first time from the third accused in the ambulance procurement trial, Richard Jakpa, who secretly recorded the AG as he demands justice.
As expected by the Constitution, for her leadership to hold fidelity to the law. That is all.
You think what has happened in the public court of public opinion would influence her ruling in any way?
No, I don't expect it to influence her ruling. The evidence should be, her ruling should be based on the evidence.
Well, tonight, Attorney General breaks silence in the Jakpa tape scandal, declaring he will prevail against the element he accuses of setting traps for him. The AG has been speaking for the first time since the NDC released what has been described by lawyers and a section of the public as incriminating audio evidence against him in the ongoing ambulance procurement trial. Meanwhile, we're also hearing for the first time from the third accused in the ambulance trial, Richard Jakpa, who secretly recorded the AG as he demands justice. Now, for first, what was the atmosphere in court? My colleague Latif Idris, was in court for us today and joins me with details. Latif, so you were there. Let us understand how the atmosphere was like in court.
Yes, so unlike the previous sittings, today the court, the financial and economic court at the court complex, it was packed to the rafters. It was full, and we had a lot of people who had to stand outside the courtroom because they couldn't find space in there. We had NDC bigwigs showing up in solidarity of the minority leader. We have members of parliament from the NDC who also showed up in solidarity of the minority leader. And so it was a very anxious faces sitting in court, waiting to hear what the sitting judge had to say with regards to the applications that are sitting before her as we speak.
Now, you witnessed what happened there. So how was the proceeding like?
Yeah, so the proceeding was built to start at 12 o'clock midday, and the judge came in, I think, a minute before 12. So she was on time. I mean, she even came before the time that has been advertised. And so when she sat in, the lawyers for Tadio Sori, lawyers for Jakpa, that's the third accused, lawyers for Dr. Kesla Tuforsin, Aziz Bamba, and the Attorney General, he was in court. Initially, he didn't contribute, and I'm sure we're going to get to when the Attorney General had to come in to address one or two issues. And then so there was back and forth, and the sitting judge listened to all the submissions that were made. And then she put forth that she is going to make a determination on the applications that have been filed, and that she wouldn't allow oral argument because she has enough evidence before her to make a determination on the applications that are sitting on her table. And we know about the application, we know about the call for mistrial, and that's some of the accusations or allegations should be struck out. That's from Richard
So we
Jakpa.
know that for Richard Jakpa, he is applying for an order striking out the charges
against
and
him,
terminating the proceedings, or alternatively staying the proceeding against the third accused or a stroke applicant here.
So that is for Richard Jakpa.
Yes.
So that's the one of the applications sitting before the judge. We also know that Dr. Kesla Tuforsin is also applying to the court for a mistrial. And there is also one which is asking for the live telecast of the proceedings, which we understand that the Chief Justice has jurisdiction over that one.
Okay.
We don't have a determination on that yet.
Now, there was a point where the AG and Thaddeus Sori were disagreeing on capacity of a deponent.
Exactly. So, if you recall, there's been an application filed on behalf of the Attorney General challenging Mr. Jakpa's application that the cases against him to be struck out or a stay. Now, that deposition wasn't filed by Mr. Godfrey Dame himself. It was filed by a principal state attorney. Now, Mr. Thaddeus Sori or lawyer Thaddeus Sori's case is that the principal state attorney didn't have the capacity to file that affidavit in opposition. But the AG was quick to respond to that. He said that no, Mr. Thaddeus Sori wasn't right, and that the principal state attorney had the right and had the capacity to file that affidavit, and that he referenced paragraph 1 of that particular affidavit, in which the principal state attorney mentioned that he came across this information which had been captured in the affidavit in line of his duty, working as a principal state attorney.
Now, after the proceedings, the AG addressed the media.
Yeah, and it was very brief. So he came out and he was rushed. I mean, the media, the journalists around rushed him, wanting to know exactly how he felt about the proceedings. And he was quick in his word, saying that he is confident that at the end of the day, even though his enemies are setting traps in his way, he will prevail.
Replied, as you know. All I can say is that the Lord does not delight in the pleasure of the wicked, and that even though they've laid traps for me, I will flee from them. And righteousness will always prevail over evil. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
So that was the Attorney General. Very brief conversation there.
Yeah.
But we know that in court, Aziz Bamba also talked about the tape and saw direction from the judge.
Yeah, so there was the issue of admissibility of the tape. Now, Aziz Bamba, he wanted to know from the sitting judge whether or not the tape that has been submitted as part of the application by Dr. Kesla to Forcing would be admitted in court and be played in open court. Now, if you listen to the sitting judge, she said that once the tape is in court, she would assess it. She didn't say explicitly whether the tape will be played in open court or otherwise. But what we can report is that she said that once the tape is in the court's custody, the court would assess the tape.
Okay.
As to whether or not this would inform the final decision or her ruling, we are unable to tell because she didn't say that in open court. All she said was that once the tape is in the custody of the court would assess the tape.
But earlier, the originator of that said tape spoke to you. What did he say?
Yeah, so Richard Jakpa was in court. He was in high spirit, in fact. And so I caught up with him before he entered the courtroom. And he said that, yes, he's put out the tape. The Ghanaian people have listened to the tape. He expects that the judge has also listened to the tape. And the fact that now that has been tendered in as evidence with the application that have been filed, he expects that the judge will do nothing but justice for him is for him to walk free.
Do you is in court, not in public opinion.
Sorry about that. Do you expect Mr. Godfrey Dame to be in court today? Is that your expectation?
Well, he's supposed to be in court because he's Attorney General. And this issue is personally between he and I. You know,
If he doesn't show up, how would you feel if he doesn't show up?
The court to determine that.
So again, you want to reiterate that at the end of the day, you would be exonerated. You are not going to jail.
Because I'm an innocent man.
What do you make of the position that the tape you put out is a doctored tape?
Well, they are claiming it's a doctored tape. I didn't say that. So they should bring the original. They should tell the original to court.
But why did you record the Attorney General?
Well, that is not for you.
He says you've been disingenuous.
But that's what he claims.
That it was a private. It was a private.
Prosecuting innocent people. Who is disingenuous?
It was a private conversation, and now you put it out.
You claim it's a private conversation.
That's what he says.
Well, private conversation, when it's a conversation that leads to committing crimes, it can no longer be private. It becomes a crime against the state. So it can no longer be private. So that private claim is neither here nor there.
The bottom line is you didn't tender that in evidence.
I'm not a lawyer. My lawyer knows his strategy, and he understands the court processes more than I do. So he's doing what is required by him. He has got his own strategy, and I cannot dictate to him his strategy.
So at the end of the day, you expect that you're going to walk?
Well, there must be justice, and I'm here seeking for justice.
So justice, anything other than you walking free will be injustice?
I cannot decide that I'm walking free. It is her ladyship who will decide based upon the evidence I used before her. The evidence will lead to that. And I know she's going to hold fidelity to the law. And that's what is expected of her. And that's exactly what I know she'll be doing. So I don't have any issue at all.
Are you looking forward to a face-off between you and Mr. Godfred Dame?
No, it can't be a face-off.
Face-to-face, let me put it that way,
no,
face-to-face.
There's no need for face-to-face. We are dealing everything in court. My lawyers will deal with it.
In court, in court.
But how can I cross-examine him? My lawyer will do that. So there's nothing like face-to-face.
Have you
It's
seen
an
him?
issue of evidence against evidence. You see, the game is about evidence, that is all.
Have you seen him since you put out the tape? Have you seen the Attorney General after putting out the tape in the public domain?
Not at all.
Has he reached out to you?
Not at all.
Have you reached out to him?
Not at all.
So there was a CJ, Justice of the Supreme Court involved. Has he reached out to you?
Not at all.
Well, so that is the third accused in this whole issue, Richard Jakpa there.
Jakpa.
But when do we expect to have rulings on the applications?
So on the 6th of June, that is this coming Thursday, we expect the sitting judge to make a ruling on all the applications sitting before her.
Thank you. Top story here on Joy FM 99.7. Let's go onto the phone lines now and have some interactions on this particular matter. We're being joined on the line by Martin Pebu, who is a private legal practitioner, and also by Sami Jemfi, who is NDC's National Communications Officer. He was in court today. Let me start with you, Martin Pebu, on this particular matter. The AG is raising some concerns about the applications on the table. Now, one of them is that his prosecutorial powers cannot be injuncted by anyone. Is it that his powers can be injuncted? And if yes, what conditions will elicit that particular injunction?
Your work.
When he says his prosecutorial powers cannot be injuncted, generally, as a principle of law, yes, that's if only nothing untoward is happened. That's if only nothing untoward is happened. But where something untoward is happened, yeah, it happens. Look, and maybe it's a play of words. Let's say generally, the words that they use, what I'm familiar with is that the court would grant an order of stay of proceedings once it's found that the contents of the tape are authentic and true. So, and the stay of proceedings is stopping the whole trial. So I don't think much depends on the word injunction. Everything turns on whether he said those things or not. So it's not about the word. Because there's a Supreme Court decision, Republic versus Bafuboni, that endorsed the remedies. One of the remedies for failure to disclose something like this prosecutorial misconduct, is stay of proceedings. Yes, stay of proceedings. So that is effectively what a court will grant if the charges are made out. That is to say, the infractions that we all heard in the tape. If they are made out, yes. So nothing turns on the use of the word injunction. No, I wouldn't spend much time on that, the use of that word. Bottom line is that if this tape is found to be credible enough, it meets the standards, yes, you will get the court stopping the trial. That's it.
But so what standards must the tape meet before it is admitted in court?
So there are the issues of the authenticity and not being doctored. The authenticity and not being doctored. So that's how come I'm wondering how this is going to be done, considering that the experts weren't called to say, okay, this is authentic, this is not, etc. So, but we'll leave it for the court to decide. So I thought we were going to hear evidence being adduced about the authenticity, etc., right? Yeah, because some are saying, you see, what they're saying is doctored. It's actually about editing it, right? Yes, editing it. So, it's, at a point you would hear that it had been said that the tape is 26 minutes long, but it turned out being 16, where is the extra 10 or so, even if it's not 26, a certain figure, 26 or so, or is it 23, whatever, but it was 20-something, but the tape itself is 16-point-something minutes. So where is the extra, those kind of things. But so far, you see that he's not running away from the content. But as for law, there's also a huge regard for procedure. So for now, you see, it's difficult to tell because the authenticity and those things have not been gone into. It's difficult to tell. But the contents are really damaging. And for me, that is where we should be looking at. Dami is not denying the content. He's not denying that was his voice. He's not denying that he said those very damning things. And so even if I were him, I don't even know what moral authority he had to enter the court. But now he should have been out of that office. Today's proceedings, his appearance in court and everything just tells you that this country, there's really a big problem. We have a very huge problem with our ethics. It tells you that there are no adults in this country. Yeah, when I say adults, I'm speaking locally. We don't have real statesmen. Yeah, we don't have real statesmen. We may have some people who call themselves statesmen, but they are not real. Look,
okay.
I'm telling you, Mr. Grace, the contents of this tape are so damning that Dami should have been booted out of the office a long time ago.
But I mean, whilst he has not...
It's not surprising because that's the same way he behaves. He's also very corrupt. So, like father, like son, kind of.
But aren't you being... I mean, you're just... When you say that you're being... it looks like you have evidence that says that, yes, this man is corrupt, and that's what you're saying, so...
Oh, absolutely, but the evidence is all out there. One, Akufo-Addo said corruption is when you bring family and friends into government. And this government is awash with its relations. Yes, Oforiatta has not totally resigned. He's only been moved from finance ministry formally. But on paper, he was still in Washington in the IMF negotiations. He said, what? Presidential advisor on what? Capital markets, etc. He's still there. You have which other listen? His brothers all over, relations, so many appointments, friends. It's a family and friends government. So by his own definition of corruption, that is it. Number two, you were not here when Akufo-Addo padded the Ameri deal by $800 million. Had not been for NDC. NDC caught him. Then he said he was misled by Boakye Ejako. Boakye Ejako said no, he wasn't in the transaction. It was Gabi. It was Gabi who led the transaction. So between Akufo-Addo and Gabi, they were going to steal $800 million. Can you imagine? And we are here talking Ghana. So there's something wrong with this whole country. The men in this country are not men. Maybe we look physically like men, but mentally,
so lawyer, stay with me. Let me bring in a colleague of yours, Nana Bafo, Nana J. Bafo, who's also a private legal practitioner. Lawyer, so if the Attorney General is not speaking to the content of that recording, could it be a strategy for him to wait till he gets his chance in court to defend himself?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners and my very good friend Martin Pebu. I think that before I go there, let me quickly react to certain things. First and foremost, we need to distinguish constitutional jurisdiction from the procedural jurisdiction of the court. They are two separate things. The constitutional jurisdiction is the source of its authority, is the power given to the court to be able to resolve matters that come before it. The procedural jurisdiction is the power of the court to manage the proceedings before it. They are two different things. Now, if you say that the court may not be able to grant an injunction to restrain the performance of a grant stay of proceedings, I don't know very respectfully the basis for which that conclusion my brother has come to that position. Be that as it may, law is about positions, and we all have basis for forming certain positions. However, I disagree with them. You cannot use procedural jurisdiction to interfere with the performance of a constitutional power. And that is why you cannot even use an injunction to restrain the performance of a constitutional duty.
Even when that responsibility is also being abused in a way?
If it is being abused, very respectfully, if it is the exercise of a discretionary power under Article 296 and 23 of the Constitution, it is required that when you have a discretionary power, you should exercise it in a manner which is candid, which is fair, right? And, it doesn't amount to an abuse, okay? And so the court can scrutinize it. The court can scrutinize it to determine whether or not it is being exercised in a manner which is candid, in a manner which is fair, right? But, the court, in doing so, would then have to make a decision that it is an abuse of constitutional power. Okay. It's an abuse of discretionary power, which is given to you under the Constitution. But the court would not injunct the performance of a constitutional duty. The court will not also use procedural jurisdiction to stay the performance of a constitutional duty. No, the court won't do that. In fact, in the case of Abu Ramadan versus the Electoral Commission, the second case, the Supreme Court said it. The Supreme Court is always reluctant to interfere with the performance of a constitutional power, the exercise of a constitutional power.
Okay.
Indeed,
thank you, Nana. I'm grateful, but let me bring in Sammy Jemfi here. He speaks for he is the National Communications Officer of the NDC. Sammy, you were in court today, and when you were speaking to the media, you sought to claim that the Attorney General seemed to be running away from his case. Why do you make that point?
Oh, that is very clear for every discerning Ghanaian to see. Serious awareness have been made by Mr. Jakpa, the third accused in this ambulance case, against the Attorney General. These are the testimony of Richard Jakpa under oath. He gave oral evidence at the last adjourned date when he was being cross-examined, I think on the 23rd of May 2024, and has proceeded to file a motion or notice supported with an affidavit, reinforcing the evidence he gave on that fateful day, the 23rd of May 2024, which is basically to the effect that the Attorney General is on a witch hunt mission against Honorable Atoforsen, and that he has only added him, Richard Jakpa, to the case as a decoy. In other words, to camouflage his real intentions, because according to Mr. Jakpa, he's had several interactions with the Attorney General in which he has made it clear to him that he, Mr. Jakpa, has no case to answer, and that number two, it is President Akufo-Addo and the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta who have been mounting pressure on him, Godfrey Dame, to imprison Atoforsian at all cost, even though he knows that he's innocent. These are damning, assertions by a witness that border not only on professional misconduct or prosecutorial misconduct on the part of the AG, but also on crime. So what you will expect any prosecutor, any lawyer, any attorney general what is sought to do is to swear an affidavit in opposition to these, very damning assertions of the third accused. You expect him to deny or to dispute these claims and demonstrate to the court that they are vexatious, scandalous, and false. But to our amazement, Godfrey Dame yet again decided to flee from accountability because he has not been able to
argues
swear
that
to any.
He argues that this application, which is praying the court to stay proceedings, is unknown to criminal procedure and practice in Ghana. Is he not right there to say that if you're basing your argument on a recording that you have, that is not something that in criminal law we know, and therefore the court cannot grant that application?
Please, that issue has not even come up for determination. So I don't know where you've gotten this issue of, whether the court has powers to grant injunction. That issue has not even come up because today the oral arguments were not made. The applications were not even moved. The judge only said that he was going to determine the pending applications based on the affidavits. So I don't want to go there. My point is that Godfrey Dame has not been able to depose to any affidavit challenging the truthfulness of the assertions made against him by Mr. Jakpa. He has shifted the responsibility to a principal state attorney called Richard Jambibi, who was not on the call, which was recorded, the recording we put out there. Neither was he in the several meetings Godfrey Dame had with Mr. Jakpa. He and
I'm going for some. Let me get some education
Yet,
here.
This is the person.
Let me get some education here from Lawyer Martin Pebu. Lawyer Martin Pebu, is the Attorney General asking, a state attorney to depose this application or affidavit on his behalf? Is he right or wrong?
He is right. Yes, he can allow. Godfrey Dame can say anybody should do it for him, but what he does is that it weakens Godfrey's case. And that's what Sami Jemfi is saying, that Godfrey should have confronted Jakpa through the affidavit in opposition. But the fact that Godfrey is running away further shows that, yes, the contents of the tape are true. That's the point. Yes, you can ask anybody to swear to an affidavit. We have certain rules to be obeyed in doing that. Yes, okay. That's allowed. But in this case, it means that Jambibi is giving first-hand hearsay. That's first-hand hearsay. I'm informed by the Attorney General and believes him to be true that this. So that's first hand because it was Godfrey Dame who went to the meetings and now, or who was on the call, and he's now informing Jambibi, and Jambibi is deposing to the affidavit.
So that's Lawyer Martin Pebu there, also in this conversation where Lawyer Sami Jemfi and Lawyer Nana Eje Bafo. I'm grateful to you for listening. This has been Top Story. Up next is Newsnight.
I get them, I send them. I get them, I pay them.
Telesale cash.
I get them, I take them.
Telesale cash.
You get them, I send them.
Telesale cash.
I send them, you get them.
Telesale cash.
I get them. I buy them, I take them. I pay them, I send them.
Telesale cash. Telesale cash.
Experience the ultimate convenience of sending money on Telesale Cash. Sending money from Telesale Cash to Telesale Cash is free. You can also make payments to merchants on all networks. Enjoy best value and total security with Telesale Cash.
Telesale, connecting energies.
Tonight, Parliament Health Committee intervenes to avert collapse of National Health Insurance Scheme following revelations that the Finance Ministry owes the scheme more than 2 billion cedis.
As of now, government knows about from July 2023 to February, that's about 2.4 billion. And then they have also made releases of almost about 700 million.
We have the latest also tonight. Education Ministry fights off claims of paying 56 million cedis to internet service providers who failed to deliver internet to schools across the country. We have details as the ministry serves notice it will be terminating the contract of service providers failing to deliver internet to schools.
The claim of misuse of money or payment for no services done is not accurate. And even beyond that, the ministry, upon evaluation, is considering terminating aspects of the contract in schools that are experiencing satellite connectivity challenges.
More on the Fourth Estate investigations highlighting how many schools under the government's Wi-Fi for Schools program had gone months and in some cases years without internet connectivity. Also tonight, MPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmood Bawumia breaks silence on stalled, controversial National Cathedral project.
The question on the National Cathedral is a very important one. The National Cathedral, I have contributed to its construction personally. I believe it's a very important thing for Ghana.
We have details of the story, plus take you live for updates as Dr. Bawumia begins his tour of the Greater Accra region today in business.
Some oil marketing companies commence increase in prices of petroleum products at the pumps.
And in sports, Sunyani Bay's Young Apostles triumphs over Tachiman Heroes in Zone 1 playoff to join Holy Stars and VinFC in qualifying for next season's Ghana Premier League.
You want to stay with us for the details of all that and more here on Newsnight? Send me a WhatsApp 055-1111-997. My name is Evans Mensah. And later, we'll take you to the streets of Ashaiman for our latest episode in our Filth exhibition series.
We all worried about the rubbish issue. Some residents give their rubbish to these junkies and they in turn dispose of them on the street.
Well, first, though, the Health Committee in Parliament has made an urgent intervention to avert the collapse of the National Health Insurance Scheme following revelations that the Ministry of Finance owes the scheme more than 2 billion cedis. Now, the amount are arrears contributions the Finance Ministry has failed to release to the National Health Insurance Scheme from July 2023 to February 2024. The committee today met the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Health, the National Health Insurance Scheme itself, and the Controller and Accountant General's Department in Parliament to resolve issues resulting in the delay in payments. Now, listen to the chairman of the committee, Dr. Freya Yu, on what they have found out from the ministry's interactions today.
As of now, government knows about from July 2023 to February, that's about 2.4 billion. And then they have also made releases of almost about 700 million. So we are clear in our mind that if these releases and the strategy they've put forward progresses, it's most likely they will clear off this arrears. You know, arrears has been an issue in the social health finances space for a long period of time. But this committee, well, we work together, and it doesn't matter where the minority raise it or not. I mean, arrears is arrears. And we are not going to take advantage of whether it was in the previous. No, that is why we are oversight members. We are here to correct the wrongs as we see it. So, The minority has raised it. It's become an issue of the committee. We've brought them together, and the roadmap is looking very good for us. So we are satisfied about this. And that is, I feel, if this goes on, then I feel satisfied that this is going to be more of a precedent and a good progress.
My colleague James Savaji was in Parliament for us and joins me right now in the studio. James, why was this meeting called?
And so the minority in the past few days, led by Honorable Mensah Kando, has been raising alarm about the fact that the National Health Insurance Scheme is going what he called bankrupt, because from their independent check, he says the scheme has some 1 million Ghana cedis in their account with the Bank of Ghana, and the need for government to fund the National Health Insurance Scheme. And then their investigation indicated that the Ministry of Finance actually, after collecting the health insurance monies, levies from the various ministries, tax and all of that, fails to remit the monies to the National Health Insurance Scheme. And so the meeting was to fashion out, one, get to know why the ministry is hesitant in doing this, and two, get a roadmap on how they can get the money to the health insurance scheme.
Okay, so the minority had raised these issues, and you spoke to the minority spokesperson on health.
Yes, I spoke with Honorable Mensah Kando on first whether some arrangements have been made between them, what their findings was, and whether the ministry is able to pay the monies. And he indicates that they have not been able to get them to give them proper timeline on when the money will be paid, but some level of agreement has been reached.
There is no, justification to this delay. There's actually no justification, because the law is clear on how this national health insurance release must be made. And that if you check the National Health Insurance Act, section 52.1 and 52.2, that once the collections are made, the money must be paid directly into the National Health Insurance Fund within 30 days. And every 6 months, the minister responsible for finance should come to the floor of the House to come and account for the payment. And so they had no justification to breach these particular provisions in the National Health Insurance.
No justification, but have they given any reason why they couldn't do so according to the law?
Well, they simply have no reason. And so what we are doing at the moment is to have a roadmap for them to follow, so that we will not have this huge arrears, going forward. And so we are drawing the roadmap. We couldn't conclude today. And so we have another meeting to be able to conclude on the roadmap, so that they will follow the roadmap, so that we'll not have these huge arrears.
So there was no clarity, was there, as to when exactly these arrears will be paid?
Exactly. There was no clarity, but if you listen earlier to the chairman, he says that they've raised some certificate to pay some 700 million Ghana cedis out of the 2.4. But the sad thing is that there's the fear that this could continue, because that arrears they are calculating now is up to February this year, which means that from March to June this month is also standing in arrears. And so those are the things that the roadmap should be able to take care of, Evans.
Now, the National Health Insurance Scheme itself, they had representation,
exactly,
including the CEO himself was present.
Exactly.
Right? And we know that yesterday we've been reporting that they have introduced a significant policy shift, which will see kidney patients receive free dialysis treatment, those below the age of 18 and those above 60. And the questions about how do you sustain this, you put that to him.
Exactly. Now, his trust is in the government. I asked him, they have made some commitment of 2.4 million Ghana cedis in addition to the 2 million, which is 4.4, whether he is positive that they can't be able to be making this support through the administrative financing. He is not very confident about that, but he believes that since this is something government has supported, they are hopeful that government will be able to support this over time, so that even beyond December, we can be able to give financing to this. Another question I put to him was about, remember when this issue came up, some patients have been calling that between June 1 and 4th, they have paid some monies when they went for dialysis treatment. He is assuring that they would be able to refund those monies and asking the patient to go back to the hospital, get their names, and ask for refund because they have put measures in place to get the monies back to them.
Well, the CEO of the National Health Insurance Scheme is going to be my guest on PM Express tonight. We're going to be going a bit more into that, especially for kidney patients who want a bit more clarity on how this will affect their lives and what this will mean for them. Now the government is taking on the burden of paying for their dialysis treatment. The minority, though, has something to say about this. Are they welcoming this?
They have welcomed this, but they have some reservation. For instance, the announcement before the health insurance release was made by the Vice President in the Central Region as part of his tour. They think that the Vice President and Central Government are trying to take, some shine on this. They said when the health insurance scheme came to Parliament, the allocations that were in there doesn't have anything to provision for dialysis. Meanwhile, that was the main issue in the media, in the public domain at the time. And so it was they on the minority who pushed that this be captured in their budget allocation. And so they don't think they don't understand why the Vice President should go ahead to take credit for this.
But I saw a clear deception, typical of him, in there for, the populism and the political advantage he wants to actually take.
Is this not the case that government has actually taken?
Okay, so the truth of the matter is that when the National Health Insurance Authority brought the National Health Insurance Formula for 2024, absolutely nothing was said about the cost of dialysis in the formula. At the committee level, we all insisted that something must be allocated to the cost of dialysis. So we made it a condition to approving the formula. So we pushed it on the floor of the House, and about 2 million Ghana cedis was referenced for that particular purpose. And I state that the Vice President had absolutely no idea about this. And so that is what the committee did, and it was, part of the formula.
And if you're just joining us tonight, following a Parliamentary Health Committee meeting today, it has emerged that the Finance Ministry owes the National Health Insurance Scheme more than 2 billion cedis, and the committee now has made an intervention directing the Finance Ministry to find the money and pay that the arrears that they owed immediately to avert a collapse. I want to bring in Dr. Samuel Kordonko. He's the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, joins us on the line right now. Doctor, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you, and good evening to you and your listeners.
When you hear that the Finance Ministry owes the National Health Insurance Scheme more than 2 billion cedis, what are your reflections on that? Because it's always been an issue, has it not, that your association have complained in the past about delayed payments when it comes to claims to you. Does this offer some illumination on why there have been delays in the past?
Thank you. Like you rightly said, this has been a thorny issue for us as an association. I remember sometime years back, we actually even organized a press conference on this and engaged the media. Our position has always been, and it would always remain, that the reason for setting up the National Health Insurance Fund is that citizens will be able to pay taxes or levies in order to be able to build a very robust and a sustainable National Health Insurance Scheme. And therefore, it is our expectation that when the funds are collected, all these funds are made available to the National Health Insurance Authority in order for it to be able to execute its mandate or carry out its functions. The current situations where we have been informed, or we are reliably informed, that there is a capping which the current Parliament actually passed a law to that extent, that there's a cap and not all the funds should be released to National Health Insurance Authority. Certain percentage should be retained in the consolidated funds. And that brings in a bit of discretion, or it limits the National Health Insurance from receiving all the taxes or levies that the citizens of this country pay. And that is really something that needs to be addressed.
Are you still owed as we speak?
It's a FDS, of course. We know that the National Health Insurance Authority has paid up to November, claims submitted November. For some institutions, we will say December. So that means definitely the National Health Insurance is indebted to the hospitals, to the community pharmacies. And by virtue of that, we can also say or can infer that they are also indebted to the wholesalers, importers, and manufacturers, because it's a whole supply chain issue. Manufacturers and wholesalers will supply the hospital, the community pharmacies, who in turn will pass on the products to patients. And based on that, then claims are submitted. So, of course, we know that they are owed. And that's why I just told you that the last payments made should be November for most of them, and for some selected to December. So this is where we have the arrears.
So at least you're owed 6 months.
Yes.
Have
But you see, what happens is that because there's always 2 to 3 months processing, if you go to National Health Insurance, technically speaking, they will tell you that they are indebted to them for about 2 to 3 months. It's not 6 months, because they have 2 to 3 months window period by which they use to do the processing. They need to audit it, they need to validate it, and all that before they make payment. So November is what, if it's been paid, they should be having December on their. They should have December. They should also have January and possibly have February. So the arrears will be up to that point. The rest we cannot call them arrears because they are going through that 2 to 3 months processing phase.
Have you received any assurances from the National Health Insurance Scheme that you'll be paid, and when?
It's just coincidental for me to receive a call today. Just today, the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, the executives, paid a working call to the new Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance and the executives of the National Health Insurance Authority. And we had very, very good deliberations. And they've given the assurance that they will do all they can to ensure that they clear all the arrears. We just had a meeting today with them this afternoon, and it was one of the issues that we discussed. So we've been given the assurance that these payments will be made as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much.
But the question is that the National Health Insurance would have the willingness to pay, but would they have the funds? And that is where the Ministry of Finance will come in. We all have to ensure that when the funds get to the Ministry of Finance, they are released timeously in order for the National Health Insurance also to make available to its clients.
And indeed, that's a big question. And there is Dr. Samuel Donko, is the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. Joining me right now also is the ranking member on the Health Committee in Parliament, Mr. Kando. Mr. Kando, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. You met with the Finance Ministry officials today. What assurances did you get as it relates to this 2 billion CD debt that they've accrued, that they owe to the National Health Insurance Scheme?
Evans, let me make few clarifications. As of last week or two, when we made the minority members on the health committee release a press release, the amount that was left to the National Health Insurance Fund was around 1 million. Subsequently, some releases has been made. Now, the releases that were made before today's meeting took care of May, June, and part of July last year, 2023. And so from July 2023 to February 2024, the arrears is around 2.4 billion. So the 700 Chairman was talking about was not from the 2.4 billion Ghana cedis. Now, the next issue is that the 2.4 billion, which spans from the July last year to February, this year, we then have from February to May this year that we have even not spoken about. And so that is the indebtedness of the ministry to the authority.
And what assurances did you get today from the ministry?
Now, we have all agreed that there needs to be a roadmap for all of us to follow for the payment to be made, because the allocation for this year is around 6.8 billion, excluding the arrears. And so we will have to get back again and then firm up the roadmap. So at least we had a very good conversation with all the stakeholders. It was a good start, but we have not concluded yet.
Did you get any firm words on timelines?
We pushed for timelines, but we were impressed upon by the stakeholders to go and look at the figures again and then get back to us for the timelines. There was a particular plan which the controller made it clear to the committee that it was going to be very difficult for the controller to go according to that plan. And therefore, we should give him the opportunity to go back to consult the Minister for Finance and other people to be able to give us a clear timeline within which we'll be able to clear the arrears.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kando. As a ranking member on the Health Committee, I want to hear from you. You've been to the hospitals and to a pharmacy. Are you still using the National Health Insurance Scheme, and what has been your experience? 055-11-11997. Now, the Education Ministry is tonight challenging claims it paid over 56 million cedis to internet service providers for undelivered school internet under the government's Wi-Fi for Schools program. It comes on the heels of a fourth estate investigation revealing how many schools under the flagship program had gone months, in some cases years, without internet connectivity. In a spirit of defense, the ministry says they only pay for the accessible, dedicated internet and not necessarily the total capped monthly cost. So we'll bring you details of a statement issued by the ministry shortly. But first, let's take a listen to the spokesperson for the ministry, Kwesi Kwate.
Even also the validation committee that also vet all invoices before payment is made. So, for instance, if we look at somewhere 2024 February, despite an invoice of around 6.4 million that was submitted by the company, the ministry ended up paying 3.6 million. So, the claim of misuse of money or payment for no services done is not accurate. And even beyond that, the ministry, upon evaluation, is considering terminating aspects of the contract in schools that are experiencing satellite connectivity challenges. Of course, we are going to update guidance accordingly with regards to that. But for emphasis sake, it is not true or it is not factual that the ministry has paid money to any company for no work done. What is true is that the contract provides for charging or payment in prorated basis, which means that the ministry only pays for services that has been rendered. And the effect is also that any downtime up to and exceeding half of a particular month will not be paid. And this essentially means that despite the approved amount of recurring expenditure, the ministry does not even pay a peso if the services does not reach the 50% threshold in a particular month.
Let me bring in right now the Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, joins us on the line. And, of course, he's been monitoring how the schools have been performing, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the areas that they may have picked up on. He joins us with some perspective on this. And, Kofi, what have you observed across the country when it comes to this particular policy? We spoke about this years ago when government first hinted they will be implementing this. Has it been functioning the way it was originally intentioned?
Good evening, everyone, and good evening to your church audience. In July last year, we commissioned a study covering 100 schools. It was actually a randomized sample study to ascertain the quality of internet being served under the program. Our study revealed that in 78% of the schools sampled, the internet service was down. It was up in 22% of the schools. Now, within this 78% of senior high schools without internet, then about 55% of those schools have been down for 1 year. And then another 35% or so of the remaining have been down for 2 years. And so we realized that it was a bigger problem than we imagined, and that in the majority of the schools, internet was not available. So taking notice of the fact that the contract had arrangement where the service provider was entitled to regular payment, monthly payment for internet service, we were concerned. And so what we did was to advise the Ministry of Education accordingly, and then request that the necessary checks, accountability mechanism be fused into the contract before making payment, because majority of the Wi-Fi sampled were down. We went ahead and petitioned the Auditor General, calling for a special audit to be instituted into the entire program, because we thought that the value for money was very low. As a result of that, the Auditor General commissioned a special audit into the free Wi-Fi program. And I'm told that they finished their work on the field about 2 months ago, and any time from now, the report should be out. And so this particular publication by the fourth estate findings, situate well within what we found in senior high schools in July of 2023.
In the ministry statement, though, they say they don't just pay for the capped monthly cost; they pay for accessibility. So, if the internet actually works, they pay. Is that your understanding of how this contract works?
Well, if the ministry is saying that they only pay for running internet and that wherever the internet is down, they don't pay, then we will need information from the schools. That's the only way we can verify. That can be verified if, after talking to the schools, we will appreciate that every month prior to the validation of their invoices, whether or not internet service are provided at the right quality is ascertained or obtained from the schools. I didn't get the impression from the schools that there were any such mechanisms. In fact, the schools we spoke to, they told us that 81% of the schools told us, oh yes, we have reported to the contractor. Okay, that was 81% of the schools. That's all they said. When we asked whether there were any mechanisms that ensured regular, verification of the quality of service delivery before payment, we didn't get any feedback like that. So maybe it wasn't the schools, providing that feedback, but maybe the ministry had other ways of verifying. But it would be useful for the ministry to put out that information in terms of, for example, this is how much we pay, this is how much we pay. But we can reconcile that with the data we also have on the downtime. That's the only way we can speak to that. But reviewing the contract, we did not see adequate accountability mechanisms within the contract, because such contracts are normally centralized. This is a centralized contract, signed with a company, St. Resort in Accra, to provide the necessaries to all schools across the country. We've seen similar issues in the past. In 2013 or so, the GNIS did a similar one, with Vodafone providing internet to about 300 or so senior high schools. It didn't last beyond 3 months. It was USAID that supported that particular one. And so we had always advised that in procuring contracts of service of such nature, the best way is to give the schools the mandate, to engage their ISPs and then pay them. And then the Ministry of Education or the GNIS supervises the schools. But when you have a centralized thing like that, it becomes very difficult to monitor quality service delivery and ensure value for money.
Well, thank you very much. And that does Kofi Asare with the Africa Education Watch. I want to stay with the Education Ministry a while longer, because the Education Minister has announced timelines for the rollout of the free tablets for senior high schools policy, and he says it will start in the next 2 weeks from the Opokuwari School in Kumasi. Well, he's been there and he's been talking to our correspondent, Anaya Juma, who's filed this report.
The government, in rolling out the Smart School project under the free senior high school policy, is targeting distribution of 1.3 million tablets to learners. According to the Ministry of Education, the tablets will have 4-inch screen, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and a battery that lasts for 7 to 8 hours. It will come along with a solar-based battery pack. It is water resistant and would have a quad-core 2 processor. In the first phase of implementation, the chosen school will be equipped with 10 smart boards, aside from other resources to facilitate the program implementation.
What this also means is that within the next 2 weeks, we're going to improve internet connectivity at your school. In order to make sure, you see, when we say a smart school, it has to come with a whole lot of things. So we're also looking at our solar panels on your classroom buildings, and make sure that at least one period a day, every one of you will experience a smart learning environment. And in addition to using your tablets in all your other classes. So we'll begin with the phase 1. Not everything may be online.
To facilitate the digitalized learning environment, Ghana Knowledge and Skills Bank is already created for the digitalization of textbooks. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
And you're also live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. And I want to share a few of your messages with you on our WhatsApp console now on the stories we've done so far. And this one from Nana Kwamwa Boateng says, did I hear NDC Minority right that we should give credit to them for the free dialysis care for the patients below 18 years and above 60 years? They are not serious at all. Ghanaians giving credit to Dr. Bawumia in his order because when the kidney patients were crying, the cries on the present government, and once the government has listened to their cry, the NDC should simply, he says, keep quiet on the subject. Also, a view there on the story we'll bring you later on the STC that is also brewing, and also the NHIS. He has this from Tanimu in Boku says, it's sad those who claim the better managers of the economy have rather collapsed it. Government owing the NHIS over 2 billion CDs, he points out there. And the final one says, and this from Keta Philip says, Bawumia organized lectures for the community members, promised free dialysis for the people. My question is, how will Bawumia finance the dialysis treatment? You want to join us on PM Express later tonight? We'll get some clarity on that and more when we speak to the CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority. Later on after business, we'll take you into the election headquarters where the MPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has been breaking his silence on the stalled and controversial National Cathedral project.
The question on the National Cathedral is a very important one. The National Cathedral, I have contributed to its construction personally. I believe it's a very important thing for Ghana.
We have details of this story, plus take you live for updates as Dr. Bawumia begins a tour of the Greater Accra region today. And George Affe is here with the latest from business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, some oil marketing companies commence increase in prices of petroleum products at the pumps because you could be paying as much as 14 Ghana cedis, 84 pesos per litre for diesel and petrol. And more traders channel foreign exchange transactions outside the banking system and black market due to what they describe as stringent documentation requirement through the formal system. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntax Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Hey, so as for you, every day you are just pressing your phone. Why? Are they paying you?
They are, Oma.
Eh?
The more I use my MTN, the more points I get. And I can use those points to get airtime, data, and even discounts at shops and restaurants.
Hey, so that is why all of you are always pressing your phones. And you won't tell us, so that we too we can enjoy some.
Oh, ma.
There's always more to enjoy with MTN Rewards. Just keep talking, testing, and browsing all day, every day to collect your points and use it to redeem amazing offers and discounted freebies right away. There's so much available for you. So dial *550# and get your reward today. Let's go. Everywhere you go.
Kweku, have you heard what they are doing on MTN?
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Water is needed all day, all night. So, remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So, remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough.
Choboy! We have a new leader in town. Obiarentie. Amafo. Madam was Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for stronger teeth.
Introducing the new President Charcoal Pack with more power with a combination of charcoal and lemon for naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now. This advert is FDA approved.
Hey, Bolango! I asked him to buy me original Polita.
Hey, please don't make mistake. Stop the papa. Open the back mouth. And you Polita no girl. Hey, papa.
Papa, can ruffle.
The Polita is original. The first and the best.
What is? Ukota also for dear acrobat using it.
Polita, yes.
Hello, my name is Mami Akua, an entrepreneur and a mother of two. My work keeps me busy most of the time, and sometimes it takes me away from my family. But the safety and health of my family is very important to me. As a working mother, I cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to matters of health. That is why I signed up for a family healthcare plan from Equity Health Insurance. My family and I have access to over 700 hospitals, clinics, opticians, dentists, pharmacies, and diagnostic centers across the length and breadth of Ghana. With Equity Health Insurance, I no longer have to worry about medical bills. Anytime a member of my family visits a hospital, Equity Health Insurance has got my family and I covered. What about you? Who has got you covered?
Call Equity Health Insurance on 050-660-7910 and talk to them about your family health needs now. Visit equityhealthinsurance.com for more information. Equity Health Insurance, here for you.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, some oil marketing companies have started increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps. Guel took the lead with some price adjustments for diesel and petrol. There is more in this report.
Market leader Goil is selling a litre of petrol at 14 cedis 60 pesos from its old price of 14 cedis 55 pesos. Diesel is going for 14 cedis 75 pesos, up from the previous price of 14 cedis 70 pesos. Persons close to Goil have told Joy Business that the spike is due to the 5 pesos increase in the Unified Petroleum Price Fund margin as directed by the National Petroleum Authority from June 1. They maintained that if it had not been the adjustment, prices would have been kept unchanged at the pumps. Shell is selling a litre of petrol and diesel at 14 cedis 84 pesos. Based on our engagements with other players, more oil marketing firms are expected to increase their prices at the pumps. It is not clear for now what influenced the National Petroleum Authority to direct these players to increase the Unified Petroleum Price Fund. This is because the price of crude is dropping on the world market, which would have resulted in the prices going down on the local market. Some have argued that if it had not been the cedi's depreciation, prices of petroleum products should have gone down at the pumps. We are also not sure how this could impact the push by the unionized transport operators for an increase in fares.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, more traders are channeling their foreign exchange transactions outside the banking system or through the black market. Now, that's according to the president of the Ghana Union Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng. The move has been influenced by what the union describes as stringent documentation that they have to pass through their staff through the banking system. Let's hear more from Dr. Joseph Obeng.
If you make a stringent documentation requirements, then people are not using the bank. Then people do not transact through, because for Bank of Ghana, what you need is bill of lading and then your transactional value. Yeah. That should be enough for you. And all transactions should come. People will not be panicked about whatever the accounting aspect or all that. They fuse the two. And this is one major cause of our problem, and that the volume of trade is now centered on outside the black market system more than the banking and that's where system. And that's where, so if you mention the bank rate is 14.3, nobody is even excited because you won't transact through there. But then there is the black market people who are detecting this pace.
Joseph Obeng is president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, that is GUTA. Now, the Finance Ministry says that it is optimistic that measures instituted together with the Bank of Ghana will help in stabilizing the Ghana cedi. The Deputy Minister, that is the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Mensah, has also maintained that government remains committed to implementing programs that would help in stabilizing the country. She was speaking at the $2.1 million grant agreement signing between the government of Ghana and the government of Japan.
Our gross international reserves reached $6.2 billion in February 2022, covering 2.7 months of import cover, and we are expected to increase it to 4.4 months of import cover in the medium term. But for recent pressures on our exchange rate movements, the cedi's depreciation halved from 52.2% in November 2022 to 27.8% in December 2023, maintaining stability into 2024. The ministry currently is working with the Bank of Ghana to implement measures to improve the strength of the cedi against its foreign trading currencies in the medium term.
Mensah Asare is the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry. The Ghana Association of Banks is pressing on customers to support initiatives by the various commercial banks to practice sustainability to conserve the environment. The move is geared towards ensuring that all players meet the new regulations set by the Bank of Ghana for all commercial banks in the country. Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Uwa, gave the hint after a short ceremony by Consolidated Bank Ghana and Forestry Commission to plant 60,000 trees within 3 years as part of his Green Ghana initiative.
At the association, the little we can also do, we are also intervening, particularly in the area where we are now talking to the bank customers on how to make themselves ready. So if a bank is asking me for this documentation because they have to meet some sustainability threshold, it doesn't become like, oh, the bank is asking for my grandmother, my grandfather, but they are asking for something that is good for you and is good for us and is good for the entire country and the global world where we all live. The CEO of CBG talked about SDG 15, that is life on earth. How are we preparing to leave this earth for the next generation?
John Uwa is Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, speaking at an event under the theme Growing a Greener Tomorrow, that is GCB's, that is Consolidating the Bank's commitment. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you're a shareholder of SS Insurance, each share that you're holding now is up by a peso to close at 25 pesos. That of GCB Bank was up by 21 pesos and is now worth 4 Ghana cedis, 93 pesos. And that's all for Business on Newsnight.
And George, thank you very much. I wonder, in your neighborhood, do you have dustbins around that when, of course, you want to throw out a letter, you just put it in there?
No, it has to do with the individuals who bring it out when the Zoom Lion car is coming to pick it up.
So you're walking in town in your neighborhood and you have
there is no dustbin around.
Okay.
You know it.
That's a problem, is it not?
Yes, but it appears the individuals provide their own dustbins.
Sometimes you put it in your pocket. The right thing to do is, if you don't have it, try and keep it on you until you get home. Right? Sometimes it becomes very, very difficult. And that's the story, really, for the latest episode in our Filth Exhibition series. I want to take you to the streets of Ashaiman, where the lack of rubbish bins is forcing residents there to discard waste in the middle of the roads. Rejoice Semefa Basu's report read to you.
The streets of Ashaman are currently engulfed in filth. Filth creating a public health hazard. This has become an eyesore for both residents and visitors. The stretch from the Ashaman underbridge to Aferiwa has been particularly affected, with piles of rubbish packed along the middle of the road. The lack of rubbish bins in the area has made the situation worse, forcing residents and passers-by to discard their waste on the streets. This has led to a buildup of trash that includes household waste, plastic bottles, and other pieces of scattered rubbish. Even though the situation is worrying, the residents say they are tired of complaining because their complaints will do very little. Madam Agnes is a resident.
We
all worried about the rubbish issue. Some residents give their rubbish to these junkies, and they in turn dispose of them behind people's homes and on the street. Whenever it rains, some people dispose of their refuse into the gutters. You can't even talk about it because you get attacked. We are pleading with government to help.
D-Trip, who is a resident and trades in menswear, expresses frustration over the persistent issue.
Myself, one time I noticed that we lack dustbins. I even complained to the municipal assembly some time ago that the reason why the dust are always on the streets, or let's say the rubbish are always on the streets, is the result of no dustbins. You understand? You can look around from here to what do you call it? Presby Junction. There's no dustbin. From here to Ashasek, or let's say runabout, there are no dustbins. So the junkies that they carrying the trash too. Whenever they carry the trash, they will take the money. They will come to the streets to take the money, or come to your various places or your houses to take the money. And when they take the trash, they will not take it to the right place that they have to dump it. So when they get to the traffic here, they notice that here there is a no man's land. So they will just leave it and they will run away. You know, junkie, you cannot go and attack a junkie. You see, yes, all this is because of you don't have proper waste management.
Pounds has, however, attributed the situation to a shirking of responsibility from the leadership.
You know, this is our country, it's our motherland. So we are supposed to keep our country tidy. Understand? When you go to other countries, you will see the way like our country is. You know, you see the trash on the floor anyhow. You drink water and put it on ground. Why? It's because we don't have dustbins. And this is due to lack of leadership. They should make sure that like they will distribute the dustbins to many places so that people can get the dustbin to put their trash. Because if there's no dustbin around, everybody can put rubber on the ground, do anything anyhow, anyway.
Residents are calling on authorities to at least provide rubbish bins to help curb the worrying trend. Rejoice Semefa Kwisu's report for Joy News.
And you're live on Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. This is your election headquarters. And this is your election headquarters. It is brought to you by Petrosol Clean Fuel in full quantity, CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, AICPA and CIMA together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental Wellness and Beauty, Chopbox Technologies, a convenient service, Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development. And tonight we join a trail now with the vice president, on his campaign of the Greater Accra region, and the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Bawumia, has broken his silence on the controversial National Cathedral project. As you know, millions of dollars have been spent on this particular project without significant progress. And it came up strongly when he met the clergy today as part of his tour of the Greater Accra region. But in response, the MPP flag bearer said that there is a need for that particular cathedral, and government would sit down and figure out a way to make sure that the project is complete.
The question on the National Cathedral is a very important one. The National Cathedral, I have contributed to its construction personally. I believe it's a very important thing for Ghana. But I think that as it stands now, the church has to come together and government and let us sit down and talk about the way forward for the National Cathedral. The church should come together and let us know the best way forward, how we can even get private resources to help us to complete the cathedral. But I think it is possible. We should not say it is not possible. Let us all sit back together and figure out the way forward on how to complete this cathedral. I think if we all come together, we'll figure it out. I really believe so. So I want us to come together and sit down and see the best way forward to generate the resources to complete, because we can't leave it where it is.
Well, also speaking on the campaign trail today is Dan Boche, is the MPP flag bearer's campaign chairman.
You are from at times to become confused. Responsibly, men and women of God, we are not here to plead that, oh, go and tell your people to vote for NPP or vote for Bawumia. No. We are saying that, even though we will not reject that, we are saying that in all these things, in all the confusion of modern world, the crowd, the noisy people who use all sorts of trickery, it takes the counsel of men and women of God so that they can understand the issues. Because you know it better. The crowd, they are not always right. Those who push well, those who are able to do propaganda, they are not always right. When Pilate had to make a decision between our Lord, who had no sin, who had committed no crime, and Barabbas, what did the people say? They wanted what? The armed robber to be freed. That was the choice of the people. If they had voted, they would have voted, in actual fact, they voted for Barabbas rather to be freed. And that was the voice, the vote of the crowd, the majority of the people. So in all reverence, we know that the majority may not always. And in such more dangerous times, with technology and all that, we need the counsel of the men and women of God.
And that there is the sermon according to Damboche. I want to bring in Apostle Emmanuel Niokule Tete. Is he a new General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council? Joins us on the line right now. Thank you very much, Apostle, for your time here on Newsnight. So you asked the questions today about the National Cathedral. You got an answer from the Vice President, who is also the flag bearer of the MPP. He says it is still possible. Your reaction?
Well, good evening, Evans, and good evening to your listeners. I think the issue about the National Cathedral needs to be approached very cautiously. I mean, nobody disputes the value and the need for such a national, property or facility. So, in principle, I don't think anybody will be against the National Cathedral. Issue has to do with the socioeconomic circumstances in which we find ourselves and the situation people are living in, and how the process is managed. I think those are the essential things one will want to look at. And by the way, let me say that this communication from the flag bearer of the NPP just came out today. So as a council, GPCC, Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, has not sat to, if you like, discuss it and come up with one view. So this is what we will be looking at.
So you'll be considering a bit more what you heard from the Vice President today.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you listen to him yourself, did he provide answers to the questions you asked in the way that was satisfactory?
I wouldn't say satisfactory. I mean, he ended by saying it is possible, which is very true. I mean, possibilities are always there. The issue will be as to whether the way it is packaged, how the process is unfolded, and the content. I think those are the key things. But as for possible, yes, I will agree that it is possible. My counsel will agree it is possible. It will be left with the details, as it is usually said. You know, the devil is usually in the details. So when we get there, then we'll pay attention to how the whole system is structured and organized. Then we know how to proceed with it.
Thank you very much. That there is Apostle Emmanuel Niokule Tete. He is the new General Secretary of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. Joining me right now, he's a man who I'm pretty sure at one point in time wanted to be a man of God. Ms. Bao. No.
Well, Evans. Let me just bring you the latest from Ghana, the Ghana Division 1, because two teams have already qualified for the Ghana Premier League. Vision FC and Vision FC already qualified then, and Holy Stars also qualified. But today, Zone 1 of Division 1, there was a playoff between Young Apostles, Yana-based Young Apostles, and Techiman-based Techiman Stars there. And after 90 minutes, they were still 1-1 and had to go to penalties, which saw Young Apostles defeating Techiman 11 Heroes there, Techiman Heroes there, to secure the remaining slot for qualification to the Ghana Premier League. Lawrence Bedu was on grounds at the Grass Sports Stadium, and he monitored it all.
Apostles will secure the last slot for Ghana Premier League promotion after beating Techiman Heroes on penalties. The game ended 1-1 after 120 minutes, and Young Apostles, despite missing 2 of their penalties, recovered in time to score the winning penalty and then secure the last slot from the Division 1 and will now be playing in the Ghana Premier League.
Thank you very much, Bao there. And that's it for News Night. Tonight, up next is the Geek Squad, and Peps is here to tell you what to look forward to. Hello, Peps.
Hi, Evans.
What are we looking forward to tonight?
We are having a conversation on someone who has tested Starlink in Ghana, the feedback, the speed test. We just want to know the cost involved and those who are interested in changing their internet service providers.
Oh, so now you can actually access Starlink in Ghana?
Yes.
Oh, you can? Okay, that's an interest. Wherever you are, I guess. It's not limited by location, because where I live, I struggle with the existing service providers.
Yeah,
so I'm looking desperately for an alternative.
We are having a conversation tonight, so definitely we'll have more details on that.
Oh, I can wait to hear that,
definitely.
Especially if I can afford. Can I afford?
I think you can.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that. Join the squad after this.